Hello, friends. I'm no therapist, but I'm your host, Stephanie Goodman. I'm a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and a woman of faith. Often friends ask me how I have a successful marriage while blending families and staying optimistic in life. This podcast features people with real-life stories about success in relationships and triumph over trial. So, who does the washing and the drying in your home? While Kels and I were dating, we learned of each other's strengths and weaknesses. And while it wasn't always happily ever after, we made the decision to work through them together. In this episode, hear what our secret was for a harmonious relationship. Friends, it is 2022. We have a new year ahead of us. We have some fun episodes that are going to be coming up, and we hope to be able to connect with you. Tell us what it is that you're looking for in the podcast. How can we help you? How can we serve you best? In sharing our stories, we want to be able to connect with you. Speaking of our stories, Kels Goodman.
Yes, that is I.
We want to share with you a little bit of what we call I'll wash, you dry.
That's right. And this is kind of an interesting episode that we kind of talked about.
I believe that you have brought into this relationship strengths that I look up to.
Yeah. And so do you.
I hope so. Sometimes I wonder who has the heavier burden to bear in the relationship.
Well, and I think the most important part in that, and we'll go into this later, but I think the most important part is to not take score. You don't take score, because if you take score, then you're just really trying to be one above the other, and you never take score because, we both have our strengths, we both have our weaknesses, and that's part of why we're titling this episode, I'll Wash You Dry. Is that how yeah. So, because...
Or the opposite, whichever. Yeah. It's the same message.
That's right. So, and because...
I'll wash you dry.
Yeah, because sometimes it's, I can wash pretty good and you can dry pretty good, or one can maybe do better at one or the other.
Do you remember the nursery rhyme, Jack Sprat could eat no fat, his wife could eat no lean?
Yeah, I remember that one.
Do you remember how that goes?
Not totally. I just remember going, who's eating fat? And what? You're gross, Jack.
Now I can't remember the nursery rhyme.
Sorry, I have
Jack
a tendency.
Sprat could eat
that's
no
a
fat.
Gift I have.
His wife could eat no lean.
It's the gift I have is
and
screwing
so
things up.
Between the two of them, they wiped their platters clean. So in my mind, I see that they switched plates. She ate the fat and he ate the lean. And so between the two of them, they made their platters clean. And I believe that that's a skill that you and I have in our relationship and helping us to make things work. Such as, I'll wash you dry, or you cook and I'll clean. Does that sound right?
That sounds great. Okay, I just yawned, okay? So we'll probably edit this.
And I asked a question. He had to instantly stop yawning to come back. Man, I feel so deeply, such an understanding for those TV hosts that are live with inability to rub their nose, yawn, cough, sneeze.
Editing is amazing. That's right. Editing saves everything. So.
That's right. And we look amazing.
We do. That's all that matters.
Okay, so back to the subject
Back to the fat and the lean.
You'll cook, I'll clean.
That's right.
Because here's the thing. I have ADHD, and when I get into the kitchen, oh my goodness.
No.
My ADHD comes full force. And if you give me instructions to read, suddenly they become blind little pieces of dots on the page. I can't read what those measurements are unless you show me exactly what the cup is that I'm supposed to put in or the ingredient that I'm supposed to come in. And please don't make it any more than 4 to 5 steps for me. Anything more, I just shut down and say, bowl of cereal sounds great.
That's right. A lot of macaroni and cheese, because that's about 4 steps right there.
Let's see.
Macaroni and cheese.
Oil, pasta, milk. Oh, that's 5. That's 5 steps.
That's right. You got to throw the butter in there. That's
Yeah.
true. That can throw you off.
And you got to make sure you stir the cheese mixture good enough. And
Yeah.
then...
Don't worry about it. I got it, Steph. I'll take it from there.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. But you know what I am good at? I'm really good at cleaning.
Yeah, she is. She's really good at cleaning.
So if you have a neighbor that is ill, I won't be the one bringing you fresh cookies or a meal unless you don't mind me picking up something from McDonald's or something on the way.
Or Costco.
A Costco or Kneaders. But neither way, anyway, my strength is that I can clean and I see dirt that maybe others don't see. And I'll get things done that are behind the scenes that nobody pays attention to.
Yeah, she does. She's really good at cleaning. And that's kind of one of our, if we go into our strengths and weaknesses, that talks about, where we talk about what works for us, then one thing that we can name right now that works for us, and then we'll go into some other stuff, is that I cook. And we jokingly say that I like cooking because I like to eat before 7. So
And you like your meal warm.
That's right. It's no comment on Stephanie whatsoever.
Yeah, speaking of weaknesses and strengths, Kels often is able to help me to think through the words that I'm looking for. And he's very forgiving of the words that I think that I'm using in intelligent ways when I'm really not.
Oh, see, I do that too, though. I have that same problem. And it's just that I've become a writer more lately. And so because I'm a writer more, I have a tendency to have to look up words and make sure I'm saying the right things and everything, because I know that I'll screw it up. And I've been laughed at for saying, I've been in your shoes. And that's why I would never use it against you or say I'm here and you're here and let me help you and educate you. That's just no, because I'm still being educated too. And
Yeah.
so that's same with the cooking. The cooking is only just the fact that I just have a gift of getting in there and just getting it done. That's all. It's not a time. I know that you could cook whatever the same way I could cook. I mean, you read the same instructions I read, and we can make it work, and it's not a big deal. And but it's just it's interesting because in our faith has a lot of traditional values, and some of those traditional values include the role of a man and the role of a woman. And, in the 50s, you would see, there'd be the man who goes to his job and he does his thing and he comes home to a hot meal and the woman spends all day cooking and cleaning. I think we joked about this once in our earlier, podcasts, but, and the church that our faith that we belong to, kind of over the years has always kind of condoned that kind of relationship. And I don't think we're the only faith that does. I think many faiths like that kind of traditional value of a husband and wife and their roles and everything, and how to deal with children and all that. But I think over the years, that has kind of shifted. I think over the years, because there's been a lot of divorce and because there has been a lot of, changes in lifestyle for people, as long as the family is still intact, I think that's the most important thing. And so that's why it doesn't bother me that in our home, I'm the cook. It doesn't bother me at all. And I don't think there's anything religious about it. I think it's what works for us. And, I don't mind. I don't mind at all. So.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up where you say, in our religion, maybe the man goes out and does everything to bring in the money and the woman stays home and cooks, what have you. But in our relationship, what works for us is you're more in charge of the food. Maybe I'll go buy the groceries. I'll bring them home, put them away where they need to go. You cook the food. I'm very happy to clean up after you. I'm sweeping underneath your feet. I'm cleaning up the spills on the floor. And that's okay because that's what works for us. But also I know a lot of the times if I am doing something, like maybe I've cooked the meal, you will turn around and say, since you did this, I'll do this.
Yeah. It's only fair. It's only fair that if you do one part, that I do the other part, in my opinion.
But I would say that is so valuable in our relationship that wasn't something that I had per se in the first relationship, where we, in essence, look for ways to be able to support each other, to help each other through hard times, to let my gift be assistance to you and your gift to be an assistance to me, right?
That's right. Yeah. And like I said, to me, it's a fairness thing. And I think having been divorced is part of what enabled us to kind of do this. I know being divorced switched my role a little bit because I had to live alone. In my first marriage, my first wife did the bills, paid the bills and took care of them. And I still went out and worked. She worked too, but I think I brought in maybe more income. And hers was a little more regular. Mine was like start and stop because I was freelance. But I was doing fairly good. It wasn't great, but it was, it was good enough to pay the bills. We bought a home and everything, so I mean, but she paid the bills. And then when it came time to get divorced, I had to really wake up to the bills, how much everything was, and just take over. And then when Stephanie and I got married, I ended up taking over the bills, and it was just easier that way. It wasn't that I was just used to it because I already saw all the numbers. And in a way, it's kind of like Stephanie kind of came into my world, even though we bought our home together that we live in right now. That was together. That was a together thing.
Right.
It was just sort of like we just kind of continued what I was already doing as far as paying the bills and my work and taxes and all that kind of stuff. And so we just that just worked that way. It's not that I feel stronger about one or the other. It's just that's what we do right now. So.
Well, and I love that there is a pretty even distribution of what your responsibilities are and my responsibilities are.
That's right.
That you recognize, Stephanie's not so good at math.
Yeah.
But Kels is better, not the best.
That's for sure. Thanks for that vote of confidence, Steph.
I'm here for you, obviously.
It can be bad. So.
And I'm not the best speller, but I can ask out loud, Kels, how do you spell this word? I've actually learned a couple of tricks in my spelling because of the tricks that you've taught yourself.
Yeah, that's right. So,
And I would say that while we were dating, those were things that we looked for in each other. We recognized that you had strengths where I had weaknesses, and I needed you to maybe teach me your ways, right?
that's right. So,
Let me help you to be more organized. Let me help you to decorate your home because I really enjoy that.
I think it's important for us to realize why do we talk about this? We're talking about this because we know that a lot of relationships, one person feels like they're doing more than the other or better than the other, or they know more than the other. And that's a real mistake. That is a big, big mistake. Even if you think that you are knowing more than the other spouse, or you're better than the other spouse, or something to that effect, that has to be a thinking that you're going to have to start to erase and realize you're both on equal footing, that you have skills and he or she has skills, and you have to be able to work with those skills when you get together and say that it's okay that I'm the cook and that Stephanie here is the cleaner, you know.
Yeah. And it's okay that I'm the one always on time.
And I'm the one that's never on time.
And I'm the one who can put away my laundry when it's clean.
And I can throw it on the floor really good. Or forget to put it away. Or something like that. Just kidding. No, we just...
If you can't tell, we were being a little facetious at that moment. If there was something that we could change, I think Kels would bop me with the ability to be on time.
No, Stephanie, I don't know what you're talking about. So, yeah, Steph does have a time issue. She does have. But I have a patience issue. And that's one thing that I do is whenever we bring up an issue, I try to complement that by saying, yeah, but I have my issues too. You know, because Stephanie's timely issue, it's kind of like, you know, we talk about sins. So we get religious for a second. We talk about sins, and sometimes we talk about sins that are the outward sins, and then there's the sins that you don't see. They're both sins.
Yeah.
There's, you know, in our faith, we don't drink, we don't smoke, we don't, you know, we strive to be chaste before we're married, meaning
Right.
no sex. And in a lot of cases, somebody's sins are the kind of sins that are seen. And then there's the sins that are not seen, like being judgmental or like having lustful thoughts, you know, or like not handling, you know, being something dishonest with your money.
Or holding grudges.
You know. Yeah, or holding
Right?
grudges. Exactly. So these are things where it doesn't matter. We all have got them. We all have to work on them. That's why we have to be patient with one another no matter what. And you can't think of yourself as above the other, because then once you do that, you've already sinned. You've already sinned. Is once you think you're above somebody else or you're better than somebody else, you've already blown it. You've already. And so same with the jobs, same with what works in your home. And accept where you're at. Just do the best you can, and it's okay that I pay the bills. I don't mind that kind of thing. I don't mind, you know, some of those things.
I would like to also say that something that I love about a relationship is that we do seek to help each other out. You know that I can do the laundry, I can wash the laundry, I can even fold the laundry. But man, I'd pay a pretty penny just to have someone put the laundry away. Why is that an issue for me?
What? Oh, come on now, Steph. So it's okay. What, you know, and we take our turns. Like the other day, you folded some of my clothing and you put it away, and I didn't even notice, and I was like, and so I tried to thank you for it, for doing that, and it was totally fine. And then there are days in which I would fold and I'd put things away, and
As a gift.
As a gift,
You wouldn't ask.
So
yeah,
but I don't mind, seriously.
Yeah. So I also tend to be a very social butterfly, and I think it's interesting that these can be gifts, right? Being a social butterfly in certain circumstances can be a gift to others. The fact that I let everyone feel welcomed and loved in the best way that I can, and I want them to feel that way. Sometimes being social and focusing on someone else will leave Kels in the background, not getting the attention that maybe he could be having.
Woe is me.
Oh, look at that
See the
face.
close-up of me? Oh, I'm so sad.
Those eyes.
Oh, Stephanie. Well, the truth is, and we talked about this because we just had our New Year's party.
Yes.
And we probably had about, maybe 18 people here in the house?
Yeah, 18, 20.
Something like that. And it was fun. And we're playing games on the table. And Stephanie loves to, she loves to bejewel people, okay? Meaning putting jewels all over their eyes or whatever, or doing some kind of makeup. And everybody just knew it, and you just kind of love it, and you just kind of roll with it because that's what she does. And that's what makes Stephanie. And she can do it with pretty much anybody. But they do have to be a specific person, obviously. And so not just anybody can do that. But there was no problem with that. I could see others mistaking that as a problem. Like, where's Stephanie? We're in the middle of a game and Stephanie has a hand, but then she took off to go bejewel someone, and that's okay. And we all at the table, because we all know Stephanie, we all were like, oh, well, that's Stephanie. That's right. I'll do her turn for her. And she'll win either way because
now,
that's...
Kels is making me sound like I cannot stay focused on a game. Let me explain myself for
That's
a moment.
not true. She can stay focused on a game. So
if it's fun and it has my focus, then...
And if there's not bejeweling going on. So
actually what happened then is that we had some friends that came into the door, and I wanted to make sure that they were greeted properly and felt welcomed. And when I came back, then my turn was being taken care of by my dear friends, which I could be offended if I was in the wrong energy, or we could just laugh it off and realize, oh yeah, Stephanie's busy. She's making sure everyone feels welcomed, and that's how we chose to look at it.
now you said earlier, afterwards, you said that you felt like the social butterfly label was kind of taken as negative. So,
kind of like an airhead, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up because when I was in school, I would get caught daydreaming. I don't know if you're like me. Raise your hand. You got this.
Just like Ralphie in A Christmas Story. When we just watched that, and he'd be just sitting there, and he'd be getting the A+++ from his teacher.
It's true.
And then finally the teacher would be like, Ralphie, hello.
And I recognize that head shake back into reality, right? That Earth to Stephanie, come back to Earth, Stephanie. And so I was titled Airhead in school.
Aww.
And Space Case. We know that one as well. And so when I'm called Social Butterfly, I really have to fight knowing that is a strength. Like, that's a compliment. Like, oh, you love everybody and you want to be there with everybody. Instead of it being demeaning like Airhead or Space Case.
Yeah. Yeah, I
It's
can
interesting
understand
that we go to our own personal childhood experiences to determine if something is meant to be demeaning or uplifting.
Yeah. No, and I can understand that because then you consider your self-worth to be something of a lower nature and seriously being a social butterfly is actually a gift. And I want to give an example. Okay. So Stephanie and I were on a road trip. I'm going to talk about Hidden in the Heartland
Okay.
and Paul.
Oh,
And so you remember Paul, right,
oh,
Stephanie?
I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so here's the story. We go to Nauvoo, and in Nauvoo, there's an organization called I Dig Nauvoo. And it's a cool thing where you can take your family out for the summer and you can pick a plot of land and you can dig, just like, a foot deep or, a few inches deep or whatever. And whatever you find, you have to hand over to the archaeologist there.
And there's some
And his
cool
team.
findings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's some really cool findings and a lot of church history. And then we were there because we were doing an episode about the ancient history of Nauvoo. But anyway, so we were there. We decided to meet up with this guy named Paul, who was from the reorganized church. Okay. And the reorganized church and our church are not always friends, but we get along. And in the case of Nauvoo, we've really joined hands in a lot of things, and it's been a good experience. Paul's one of those who kind of comes from a traditional setting where he didn't agree with what we were doing, and he let us know it. And so here we are filming, wanting to interview him about some bones that he found. And he kind of had a rough demeanor about him. He was just, well, I just don't know if we want to do this. And I don't know if I agree with what you're doing. And he really seemed kind of rough. And me and Rod, who we were with, we were talking to him. But Stephanie had not entered the room yet. Then after we felt like, oh, we're not going to get an interview by any means,
This is a waste of time. What are we doing here
yeah,
anyway?
exactly. Then Stephanie walks in, and Stephanie comes in and says, oh, hi, you must be Paul, not knowing, just totally clueless as to anything that we were doing or dealing with. Just, oh, hi, Paul. Oh, is this your wife or your sister or whoever was with him? And just, oh my gosh, it's so nice. And then not long after that, we're doing the interview. And what Stephanie has a gift of is Stephanie has a gift of closing the deal with her love. And that's what she does. And so I've always looked at Stephanie as that partner by my side that she may not know all the details when it comes to things like the festival or the movies or what we're doing, but she is the best presence to have to help calm things down. And that, in my opinion, is just as important as the technical stuff, as the paperwork, as the meals, is her essence that she gives when she appears anywhere. And everybody, there's not one person that I know that actually does not like Stephanie. I mean, I know they're out there, but they're probably jerks anyway, so that's okay.
Wow, Kels, do you see why this man has my heart? He's so good at putting me up and putting me on a pedestal that helps me to see my potential as a person and also makes me want to serve him in any way that I can. My words of affirmations are definitely my love language. And Kels is so incredible at playing that game with me. I look to him a lot of the times as my strength. He is one who will keep me on time, even though I hate that. And I love that at the same time.
No, it's not a problem at all, Steph. It's okay. So time is, see, that's the other thing is time. That's why we're so glad that we're religious people that believe in eternity, after we we die. I jokingly say that when we die, okay, when Stephanie passes this life, and and that she goes to the pearly gates, okay, and there's St. Peter, right, okay, and St. Peter's there saying, okay, come on, Stephanie, come on in. And she'll be like, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. And then somebody will like be on their way from earth to heaven. And she'll be like, oh my gosh, how are you doing? And
you made it to the pearly gates too. How was your trip? Did you see anybody you knew? What was your experience like?
How did you die? Did you die from cancer? So did I. Or old age? Me too. What do you know? That's so cool. We'll bond. And then next thing you know, she's made a new friend, or she sees an old friend, or she sees a famous friend that's been watching her from the other side of the veil, or whatever. And either way, she'll never get through those pearly gates because she's too busy talking to everybody, even though she's the most worthy to go through those pearly gates. And St. Peter is like, okay, Stephanie, hello, it's time to go. And Steph's like, hello, we have eternity, right? and then St. Peter says, oh, you got me there.
You got me there. It's true. I say that there is ample time when we get on the other side. We need eternity to catch up with everything that we've missed. And we could go deep into that subject.
Deep. I'm telling you, real deep. But the truth is, that's a gift. It's still a gift. Just because it's not math and just because it's not, cooking or whatever, doesn't matter, because it's a gift. It's a definite gift that you've got to have. The gift of honesty, the gift of love, the gift of giving to, others, no matter who they are, getting to know them, loving them in this world today where we're living in very tough times, where people don't trust each other as much anymore. That is definitely a gift that no degree could ever pay for. And so I look at that as a plus, and I would never trade that for anything in the world. So,
babe, you're incredibly good to me. And I will say that your strength is that you use the gift of discernment. You don't get fooled by someone using your innocence against you. You're mindful. You think things through. You're smart, intelligent. I can look to you to be a strength where I'm needing protection.
Well, you are my Wonder Woman, and you make me look good. So that's all I can say. But so there you go. So that is an example of I'll wash and you dry, because it doesn't matter who does what. It's just that it's done. So
now, we're not happily ever after. And sometimes what I don't do can be a sore spot, and sometimes what Kels doesn't do can be a sore spot. So how do we make it through that when you wash, I'll dry, but really I want to wash? Wait, did I say that right? You wash, I'll dry, but I want to actually wash and have you dry. How do we make it through that?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question, and
if you need to use a different example, a stronger example.
Well, I mean, let's say cooking.
Okay.
Because currently I cook most of the time, and you cook some of the time. You don't cook none of the time. It's not like you never cook. You can cook. You can do the same stuff I do. It's just that I just get in there and get it done quicker, and I've cooked a lot. And I worked, my time at Blendtec helped me understand a little more, because I did a lot of recipe videos and things using the blender. And so that kind of helped. But besides that, if you ever wanted to cook, you just say, hey, I'm going to cook, I'd like to try it or do it. And I don't know. That's a really good question. I guess maybe I don't totally have an answer for that.
Maybe I haven't explained it well enough for you to understand where I'm trying to go with that. Um, what about this? You're at church, you're waiting for me. I say I'll be there, and you don't see me show up
Okay.
for a long time.
Yeah.
Now I show up. You have the opportunity to rip me open and say, where have you been? How long does it take you? This seriously needs to stop.
Yeah. How do you do that? How do you do that? Well, here's how I've done it, because recently we've had this discussion, because church is at 9, okay, and I have to go early because I stream it, and so I have to set up all the streaming gear to do it, because it's piped through the church's system, and so I have to go about 45 minutes early, and I have to set it up and make sure it's working, and then I sit through actually several different meetings in other congregations that we don't, in what we call wards, but congregations. So I stay there for a long period of time, and often Stephanie doesn't show up, or she shows up at the end. And the way I look at it is, I look at it as this: if Stephanie wanted to be there, she needed to be there, she would be there. If there's a reason for her to be there, she would be there. And if she doesn't show up, or if she's late to it and she missed something that she really wanted to be at, she'll feel that. Not me. It's not up for me, because unless it affected me, like if I needed her for some reason to help me film the meeting, then yeah, it would hurt me. It would hurt me. But because she's not there and it doesn't affect me directly, it doesn't really hurt me. And so I set myself up to make sure I succeedingly get what I need done at church. And she'll show up when she wants to show up. And if she doesn't, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. And that's kind of how I take it, that if you really wanted to see something, if there's somebody who's speaking, or if there's a class you need to attend or something, then and you need to be there, then I just wait for you. That's your thing. And if you miss out, that's your problem. That's kind of the way I take it. And that way, for you can decide, because we had a discussion once about how if you change, right, our last episode, anytime you change, sometimes it's sad that you have to change because of pain.
Yeah. Sometimes pain is the influential motivation for making a change. And sometimes we have to have that same pain show up a couple of times to be that motivator finally to say, you know what? This is enough. I want a better outcome. I'm going to make a change.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So if you want something bad enough, you'll get it. That's how I am for everybody. If you need something bad enough, you'll find a way to get it. And I'll open the doors to make sure it happens. But if you're not there, you're not there. It's okay. It must not be as important. But I don't think that means you don't want to be there. It just means time just escapes you. So it's okay. That's why I never make a big deal out of you being late to anything, unless it's something I need you to be there for. Then I would lie to you and tell you that church is at 8:00 so that you can get there at 9, and ta-da, isn't that terrible? So
hey, we find our solutions, right?
That's right. We got our system down. So as long as we agree with it, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I think that there are others out there that can relate to me, being that time is not my friend, being that, I don't know, maybe you can't relate to me. Because I remember talking with Kels when we were talking about what we wanted to improve in our lives and the strengths and weaknesses that we do have. And time is definitely a monster for me.
So just for the audience to understand that Stephanie does have a late problem, and it's something we accept. We know it's not like that. It's not like a hidden thing or a deep secret or anything like that in the family. And so what would be interesting to do is for you to talk about what it is that makes you late.
What goes in my head when I'm late? Okay. So when Kels and I were talking about this, I had a realization, and maybe you can relate to this. I feel physically and emotionally uncomfortable when I show up early.
Which is weird.
That is really, really weird. It doesn't make sense that I would feel physically and emotionally uncomfortable to show up early, because wouldn't that relieve me from pointed fingers, people looking at me disappointing other people? Like, why is it that showing up early is more uncomfortable to me than showing up late and having people look at me?
Yeah. And I find that kind of fascinating. I can't fathom that, because as a person who's had to, make money and be on time at a job. And I remember once I was late to a job, and I remember after that job, I remember thinking, I am never going to be late again. And it was on Touch by an Angel. So I worked on Touch by an Angel. I had to be on location at like 6 a.m, somewhere 45 minutes north of here in Salt Lake City. And I remember thinking, I remember being late, and I walked down there and thinking, oh, there's 50 people all around, and nobody's going to see and notice that I'm late. And nope, sure enough, they knew that I was late, and they let me know, if you're late again, you're off the show. And I remember that kind of hit me hard, that, oh yeah, I better not be late. That better be an important thing for me. Because money was involved, some pain, certain pain, but this interesting dichotomy. Maybe somebody knows something about this, where if you're afraid to be early, that's really strange to me. But it's strange to you too. But it's what happens to you.
Yeah, exactly. And if I am early, something will happen. I can't find the keys. I've lost my phone. I have to go back inside and I have to look for something. Or the car's not starting for some strange reason. Or I get lost on my drive there. When I know this route so many times, why am I getting lost and having to backtrack? I have learned to just embrace that I get there when I get there, right? And whenever I do get there, I make it worth my time. I'm trying to be in the service of the Lord. I'm looking for people that I can serve. I am being a friendly face or a listening ear, whatever it is that I can be in tune as much as I possibly can. And I believe that the way that you have dealt with my being late and not ripping me a new one for my tardiness has given me that leeway to be that instrument of God that I need to be.
Well, and I think that, and this is where the opposite thing comes into play, is that I see things from a producer's standpoint. And a producer, when you're making a film and there's a lot of people involved and time isn't, and every day that happens on a film shoot, money is just going out like crazy, and because all these people are here and there's a lot of scheduling and issues, and so it's normal for a producer to think tragedy. It's normal for a producer to go, something's going to happen, something's going to go wrong, and you just be prepared for it. And
so time is money enough.
So time is money, and so you just think that. So you think early and as ahead as you can for that very reason, that you already know that something is going to happen. Whereas Stephanie runs off the notion that that whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So that's why it's okay, if you're late, or if you, somehow everything just flows. And if I'm late, it's because I'm supposed to be late. And that's a fathom I cannot, fathom. I guess that's a thought I can't even recollect by any means, or I can't even. I'm using all the wrong words.
You can't wrap your brain around that.
I can't wrap my brain around that kind of thought, So
there's a quote that says, "I'm late, but I'm worth the wait."
Oh yeah, and I'm good with that when it comes to Stephanie. So, but when it comes to filmmaking, you can't really use that. I mean, it's cute, but
And thus, I have been fired from a few jobs. So, Kels, tell me, if you knew these things while we were dating, how is it that we move forward in combining our lives together and making a marriage work?
Well, I think there's a lot you don't know until you get further into the relationship. And we got married pretty fast. So I know there were a few things that after we were married, it was like, oh, okay, well, this is there, and well, it's fine. But while we were dating, there were a few moments where, there were some issues that it was like, okay, can I live with this?
Mm-hmm. That's the big, big question.
Yeah.
Can I live with this?
Yeah. And I think that is a number one question, because my feeling is this: there was never in my single dating years realizing that there was never going to be a perfect woman. Never. And for all these things that you would list and want, it's part of why some people are probably, and I'm guessing here, that's probably why some people are still single, because they're looking for Miss Perfect or Mr. Perfect. And they realize that they're not going to find him. And so thus, because now once you've accepted that fact that you're not going to find perfect, and being that I had been married twice before, realizing that, things were just not going to be perfect, I had to sit and say to myself, what can I live with? And everybody has to say that. Everybody has to go, okay, what mistake, what silly thing is it that this person is going to have can I just live with, and it's no big deal? And my number one thing that I needed from a woman was honesty. And I knew that you were honest. I knew that you were fun, and I knew that you were honest, and almost nothing else mattered. You could have just sat in the couch all day while I did everything in the house, and I would have been happy, because you were still fun and you were still honest. And at least I knew where we stood, with things. And I mean, I knew it was never going to be like that. I knew it's not like, hey, look, I'm marrying a late, lazy wife. And I know that's not what's going to happen.
Oh, no.
So I just knew that you were just fun and you were honest, because I was so hungry for that after what I had been through. And so that's what made me want to stick around. So.
And I can say ditto to that. I remember learning some things that, could have destroyed a relationship in getting to know someone.
Mostly because of my Star Wars toys.
Mostly, yeah. But the thing is that I, too, was hungry for someone that was honest. And I knew that if you could be honest, whatever the situation was, you could work it out.
That's true, because honesty is such, when you hear that song, that honesty is such a lonely word, that is so true. That is amazingly true, because look at how many people love to get away with things. They got to get what they want and get away with it. I mean, and it's a tough world out there, and you don't trust. You're kind of guessing when you're dating and meeting people, and people go from date to date to date to date, and they don't trust.
And they have a backup, maybe.
Yeah.
They have a backup interest. If this doesn't work, then that's okay, because I have this one.
Yeah. So
they're not committed as much. They have so much more to compare to.
Yeah. And so I think the honesty factor is if you, because once you break that one, once you break honesty, there's almost no going back. You can go back, and there are ways to go back.
You can
and
repair it.
Yeah, a therapist will help you through it. A real therapist will probably sit there and say, okay, there's been some dishonesty, but it comes down to your desire to make it right. And if you don't have a desire to make it right, or to just barely get through, just to be good enough, just to move on with this relationship so she'll quit nagging on me, then you're not really in it forever. You're in it just to get through it.
Yeah.
And honesty, man, that is woof. That is like it. And if you can win that jewel of being honest, then everything else, honestly, not everything, but most everything, you can work through. You can get through.
So I want to end with a quote here. It says, "Success is learning to love what makes us different." And I think that you and I embrace that very well. That we appreciate who we are. We appreciate what we can bring to the relationship or to the table, so to speak. And again, the fact that we both value honesty. If you've enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe, share, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram. Please comment, because I would love to hear about what you think and what you want to see in the future. I'm no therapist, but I am your host, Stephanie Goodman.